You think life cares about your excuses. You think the world gives a damn about how tired you are, how broken you feel, or how unfair your situation is. Let me tell you something. The world doesn't owe you a thing. Every single day, life is testing you. It's testing your discipline, your hunger, your fight. And if you don't step up, if you don't push back, then you're going to stay weak. You're going to stay stuck. And you're going to live the same story on repeat until you die. I'm not here to motivate you for 5 minutes so you can feel good. I'm here to tell you the truth. And the truth is this: comfort is killing you. The moment you choose easy, the moment you choose the soft option, you lose a piece of yourself. Weakness isn't some curse that just shows up. It's a choice. And the only way out is to face that voice inside you that says, stop, quit, you've done enough. And to tell it, not today, not now, not ever. So if you came here looking for sympathy, you're in the wrong room. But if you came here ready to face your demons, ready to suffer, ready to bleed, and ready to become more than what you are right now, then sit tight, because we're about to go to war. Comfort is the enemy of growth. People don't understand how dangerous comfort is. They think comfort means peace, relaxation, or reward for hard work. But comfort is the trap that keeps you soft, that keeps you from ever reaching your potential. Every time you choose the couch over the grind, every time you choose the easy road instead of the hard one, you are training yourself to accept less than what you're capable of. Comfort feeds you lies, whispering that you've done enough, that you deserve to rest, that tomorrow you'll get serious. But tomorrow never comes for the person addicted to comfort. Tomorrow becomes a graveyard for all the goals, dreams, and promises that were never kept because you kept choosing comfort over growth. Growth doesn't live in the places where everything feels easy. Growth is born out of resistance, out of struggle, out of putting yourself in situations where you're tested, where you want to quit, where every part of your body is screaming at you to stop. That's where growth begins. It's in those moments when you push past your limits and realize your limits were never real in the first place. Comfort keeps you blind to what you truly are. It builds walls around your potential and convinces you that mediocrity is enough. But mediocrity is poison, and comfort is the spoon feeding it to you every single day. You don't become stronger by staying where it's safe. The muscles in your body don't grow unless they're broken down under stress. And the same applies to your mind, your discipline, your character. Every time you step into the unknown, every time you force yourself to endure pain, every time you confront fear head on, you break the hold comfort has on you. That's when growth begins to take root. But the second you crawl back into comfort, the second you retreat into that warm and easy space, you kill the progress you've made. Growth is a fire, and comfort is the water that puts it out. The problem with comfort is that it feels good in the moment, but it robs you of everything meaningful in the long run. It robs you of your edge, your toughness, your hunger. Comfort convinces you that staying the same is fine, that average is okay, that nobody will notice if you don't give your best. But deep down, you notice. Deep down, you know you're lying to yourself. You know you're wasting your time, your energy, your gift. You know you're living below your potential. And that feeling eats at you even if you try to drown it out with distractions. Comfort can numb you, but it can't silence the truth. The truth is you're capable of so much more, but you'll never find out as long as you stay comfortable. Every person who has achieved greatness, every warrior, every champion, every leader who changed their life and inspired others, they all had to step out of comfort. They had to suffer. They had to sacrifice. They had to put themselves through situations where failure was possible, where pain was guaranteed, where the odds were against them. But it was in those moments that they discovered who they really were. They found out that comfort was the real enemy all along. Comfort would have kept them small, but growth demanded they step into the fire and endure what most people run from. The truth is, most people will never break free from comfort. They'll live their entire lives in that safe little bubble, convincing themselves that it's enough, convincing themselves that they're happy, convincing themselves that they don't need to change. But there will always be that quiet voice in the back of their mind reminding them that they settled. That voice doesn't go away. It just gets buried under more layers of comfort. But the ones who decide to fight it, the ones who are willing to break free, to suffer, to grind, to embrace the hard path, they're the ones who experience growth. They're the ones who transform into something greater than they imagined. Weakness is a choice, not a condition. People love to believe they're stuck with weakness like it's some curse handed down to them, like it's written in their DNA that they're supposed to be soft, undisciplined, and incapable of greatness. But weakness isn't permanent. Weakness is built day by day, choice by choice. Every time you give into comfort, every time you let fear dictate your decisions, every time you tell yourself, I can't. Weakness is the result of surrender, and the truth is nobody forces you to surrender. You do it to yourself. Nobody can hold you down unless you agree to stay down. Every moment you choose to quit, every excuse you allow to control your actions, you are actively choosing weakness. Strength is forged through decisions. The decision to get up when you don't feel like it. The decision to keep moving when your body is begging you to stop. The decision to take one more step when everything in your mind is screaming that you're done. That's where strength is born, not in the moments when it's easy, but in the moments when it's almost unbearable. Weakness, on the other hand, grows when you decide the pain is too much, when you decide the sacrifice isn't worth it, when you decide the struggle isn't for you. And every time you make that choice, weakness gets stronger. It takes more of you until eventually it defines you. People hide behind labels, behind stories of their past, behind limitations that they build in their own minds. They say things like, I was never athletic. I've always been lazy. Or I just don't have the discipline. That's not fate. That's not destiny. That's not genetics. That's weakness, and it's chosen. Every day you wake up with the opportunity to fight it, to push back against it, to build strength instead. But most people won't, because it's easier to let weakness win. It's easier to settle for the life you already know than to risk suffering for the life you want. Weakness thrives in that space where you convince yourself that staying the same is safer than change. The reality is, weakness is comfortable. It asks nothing of you, it makes no demands, it doesn't challenge you. That's why people accept it. They think avoiding hard work is freedom, but really, it's chains. Weakness doesn't set you free, it keeps you locked into a version of yourself that will never reach its potential. Strength demands pain, effort, and resilience. Weakness demands nothing but surrender. And most people choose surrender because it feels easier in the moment, but what they don't see is the long-term cost. Weakness steals your confidence, your pride, your belief in yourself. It strips you of the chance to ever know how powerful you could have been. Weakness doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care if life has been hard, if you were raised without opportunities, if the odds are against you. Weakness only cares about whether or not you fight. Because the truth is, even in the worst conditions, people have risen, people have endured, people have transformed. Weakness wasn't stronger than them because they refused to give it power. They made the choice to be strong, to suffer, to embrace the hard path, and in that choice they found freedom. Weakness doesn't exist unless you allow it to exist. It only grows when you feed it, when you bow down to it, when you let it dictate who you are. Every single person has the ability to fight weakness, but not everyone has the will. And that's what separates those who rise from those who remain stuck. Weakness whispers in everyone's ear. It tells you to take the easy way out, to avoid the challenge, to stop when it hurts. But it's your choice whether or not you listen. Weakness isn't some curse that's unshakable. It's a battle you face every single day. A battle you either win or lose depending on your decisions. And the harsh truth is this: you can keep telling yourself you're weak, or you can start making the choices that prove you're not. Your mind will quit before your body ever does. That is the brutal truth most people never realize because they've never pushed themselves far enough to test it. The human body is capable of going to extremes you can't even imagine, but your mind is the gatekeeper that decides whether you ever find out. The mind starts screaming for mercy long before the body is actually finished. It tells you that you're done, that you've given all you can, that you've reached the wall, but that wall is nothing but a lie. It's the mind's way of protecting you from discomfort, from suffering, from the unknown. The body is ready to go further, but the mind convinces you to stop because it wants safety over growth. Think about how often you've quit something not because your body physically couldn't continue, but because your mind told you to. You stopped the workout not because your muscles had failed, but because the burn was uncomfortable. You walked away from the challenge not because it was impossible, but because the fear of failure paralyzed you. The body had more to give, but the mind pulled the plug. That is the pattern most people live with their whole lives. They allow the mind to dictate the limits, so they never experience what they are actually capable of. And the truth is, the body always has more. There's always another step, another push, another rep, another ounce of strength, waiting if you can silence the mind's excuses. The body doesn't break as easily as the mind claims. Look at people who run ultramarathons, who push through frostbite, who carry injuries and still keep moving forward. Look at soldiers who stay in the fight long after their bodies should have shut down. What separates them from everyone else is not some special gift in their muscles or bones. It's that they've trained their mind to stop quitting. They've learned that pain, exhaustion, and fatigue are signals, not stop signs. They feel them, but they don't obey them. They've conditioned their mind to let the body show what it can really do, and every single time the body proves it has more in the tank than the mind admits. When your lungs are burning, when your legs are shaking, when sweat is pouring down your face, that's when the mind steps in and starts shouting at you to stop. It tells you it's not worth it. It tells you it's too hard. It tells you you've done enough. That's the mind trying to protect you from discomfort. But if you can recognize that voice and refuse to let it control you, you'll find that your body isn't anywhere near finished. That's why the greatest breakthroughs come right after the point you wanted to quit. It's in that space where you push one more time, take one more step, ignore the mind's fear, and force the body to show its true potential. That's where the growth happens, where you begin to separate yourself from the masses who gave in too early. Most people never access even half of what their body is capable of because they live their lives chained to a weak mind. They obey the first signal of discomfort. They believe the lies of fatigue, and they stop long before they've reached their edge. But those who learn to override the mind, those who learn to sit in pain, those who learn to embrace the suffering, they discover that the body is a machine built to endure. The limits are almost always mental, never physical. And every time you push past the voice in your head that says you're finished, you prove that truth to yourself again and again. The mind is powerful, but it's also a liar. It will try to convince you that you're fragile, that you're weak, that you're done. But if you fight back against that voice, if you refuse to quit when it tells you to, you'll realize your body still has so much left. Every step beyond that mental wall is where you unlock strength you never knew existed. That's where transformation happens. That's where you stop living under the control of a weak mind and start living through the strength of your body's true potential. Discipline beats motivation every single time. Motivation is fragile. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you feel unstoppable. The next day you can barely drag yourself out of bed. If you build your life around motivation, you will always be inconsistent, always chasing that temporary spark, always waiting for the right mood to get moving. Motivation is a high, but it fades, and when it's gone, you're left with nothing. That's why people start strong and quit halfway. Why gyms are full in January and empty in March. Why so many set goals but never finish. They rely on motivation instead of building discipline, and discipline is the only thing that lasts. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't wait for inspiration. It doesn't ask for energy. It doesn't need excitement. Discipline is action in spite of your feelings. Discipline is the alarm clock at 4 a.m. when every fiber of your body wants to sleep. Discipline is going for the run in the rain when motivation tells you to stay dry. Discipline is saying no to excuses when motivation whispers that it's okay to take the day off. Discipline is consistent, steady, and relentless. It's not flashy. It's not exciting. It's not glamorous. But it's what builds results. It's what separates winners from dreamers. It's what creates lasting change. The problem with relying on motivation is that it teaches you to wait for the right conditions. People say, I'll start when I feel ready, or I'll get back on track when the timing is better. But those conditions never come. The right mood, the right energy, the right moment. It's a trap. Discipline doesn't care about timing. Discipline says, I show up whether I feel like it or not. I do the work whether it's convenient or not. I stay committed whether I'm motivated or not. Discipline strips away the lies and leaves only action, and that action compounds over time into results motivation could never create. Think about the greatest athletes, soldiers, leaders, and achievers. Do you think they were motivated every single day? Do you think they woke up excited every morning to grind? No, they were just like everyone else. They felt tired. They felt unmotivated. They wanted to quit. But they didn't build their lives around feelings. They built them around discipline. They showed up when they didn't want to. They pushed when it was the last thing they felt like doing. They created habits so strong that they could operate on autopilot when motivation disappeared. And because of that, they kept moving forward when everyone else stopped. Discipline is freedom. Most people think discipline is a cage, that it restricts you, that it's about saying no to everything. But the truth is the opposite. Motivation leaves you trapped because it ties your actions to your emotions. Discipline frees you because it gives you control no matter what you're feeling. Discipline means you can get things done whether you're tired, sad, uninspired, or unmotivated. Discipline doesn't ask permission from your emotions. It simply executes. And that consistency creates results that build confidence, pride, and strength. Discipline is what allows you to rise above weakness and stay committed when motivation is nowhere to be found. Every time you rely on motivation, you gamble. You gamble that tomorrow you'll feel like working hard. You gamble that the spark will come back. You gamble that your emotions will line up with your goals. But when you rely on discipline, there is no gamble. You don't need to feel like it. You just do it. That's why discipline wins every single time. Discipline doesn't fail you. Discipline shows up. Discipline keeps you on track when the excitement is gone. Discipline makes sure you're still grinding long after everyone who relied on motivation has quit. Motivation might get you started, but it will never carry you through. Discipline is the only thing that makes sure you finish. Discipline is the only thing that builds resilience. Discipline is the only thing that guarantees progress. When you stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline, you become unstoppable. Because feelings change, moods shift, energy fades, but discipline endures. Suffering is the gateway to real strength. Everybody wants to be strong, but nobody wants to suffer. They want the reward without the sacrifice, the results without the pain, the victory without the fight. But strength is never built in comfort. Strength is carved out of the days when everything hurts, when you're pushed to the edge, when life strips you down and forces you to face yourself. Suffering is the test that separates the pretenders from the real ones, because anyone can smile when it's easy, but only those willing to endure suffering can stand tall when the storm hits. Without suffering, there is no toughness, no resilience, no edge. You can't build armor by living soft. Suffering is where you meet the real version of yourself. When everything is comfortable, you only know the surface level you, the version that operates when things are smooth. But when life starts tearing at you, when pain, exhaustion, and doubt come crashing in, that's when you see who you really are. That's when you discover the cracks in your mindset, the excuses you cling to, the limits you've set for yourself. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can back down and let suffering break you, or you can step into it and let it forge you. The people who embrace suffering don't just survive it. They come out the other side sharper, harder, and more dangerous than before. The truth is, suffering isn't the enemy. Weakness is the enemy, and suffering is the cure. Every time you endure hardship, every time you stay in the fight when you want to quit, every time you lean into pain instead of running from it, you are building strength. Not the kind of strength that looks good on the outside, but the kind of strength that can't be broken, the kind that stays when everything else falls apart. Suffering builds grit, and grit is what carries you when talent, luck, and motivation are gone. Suffering is the price of admission for greatness, and most people will never pay it because they're too addicted to comfort. Most people run from suffering. They numb themselves with distractions, with comfort, with excuses, with anything that keeps them from feeling pain. But all that does is make them weaker, softer, more fragile. The ones who refuse to run, the ones who accept the suffering, the ones who walk into it willingly, those are the ones who rise. They understand that pain is temporary, but the strength it creates is permanent. They know that every second of suffering is an investment in becoming someone who can't be broken. They don't chase easy wins, they chase hard battles, because they know suffering is the only teacher that builds unshakable strength. Look at the greatest warriors, athletes, leaders, and survivors. Every one of them has endured immense suffering. They've faced failure, heartbreak, pain, loss, rejection, and defeat. But they didn't let it destroy them. They allowed it to mold them into something greater. Their strength didn't come from avoiding suffering, it came from embracing it. They treated suffering as the gateway, the passage they had to walk through to reach the other side of their potential. And on that other side, they found a level of strength and resilience most people never touch. because most people never step through the gate. Suffering doesn't discriminate. It comes for everyone at some point. The question is whether you will let it crush you or whether you will use it. Every moment of pain is a chance to grow. Every hardship is a chance to harden. Every setback is a chance to build resilience. You don't get stronger by wishing life was easier. You get stronger by surviving when it's harder. Suffering is the furnace, and if you're willing to step into the fire, you will come out forged into steel. That's why suffering is the gateway. It's not the obstacle to strength. It's the path to strength.